My name is Margaret Harrison. I'm 73 years old, and I learned a truth that most people discover far too late. Sometimes the cruelest betrayals come wrapped in smiles and Sunday dinners. It was a Thursday afternoon in late September when my phone chimed. I was in my garden, deadheading the roses I'd been tending for 40 years. The same roses my late husband David had planted the year we bought this house. My hands were dirty, my back ached in that familiar way that comes with age, but I was content. I had learned contentment after David passed 5 years ago. Learned it the hard way, through grief that felt like drowning, through nights that stretched endlessly, through the slow, painful process of building a life alone. The message notification glowed on my screen. I wiped my hands on my gardening apron and picked up the phone, expecting perhaps a text from my bridge club or a reminder about my upcoming doctor's appointment. Instead, I saw my daughter-in-law's name, Jessica, and below it, words that would shatter the careful peace I had constructed. Soon the old lady will be gone, and we'll finally have the house. Can't wait to renovate this outdated dump. That master bedroom will make a perfect walk-in closet for me, and we can finally stop pretending to care about her boring stories. I read it once, twice, 3 times. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. I had expected trembling, tears, some physical manifestation of the knife that had just been plunged into my chest. Instead, I felt a strange, cold clarity descending over me like frost on glass. The message had clearly been meant for someone else, a friend perhaps, her mother, someone with whom she could share her true feelings about the woman who had welcomed her into our family 8 years ago. The woman who had thrown her a bridal shower, who had helped her pick out her wedding dress, who had been in the delivery room when she gave birth to my grandson, Thomas. I stood there in my garden, surrounded by the roses David and I had nurtured together, holding evidence of a betrayal so profound it took my breath away. Not just Jessica's contempt for me, that was painful enough, but the revelation that my son's marriage, the family dinners, the holiday celebrations, the casual Sunday visits had all been a performance, a long con, a waiting game. Soon the old lady will be gone. They were waiting for me to die. I looked up at my house, the house David and I had saved for, scrimped for, finally bought when we were 31 years old. We'd painted every room ourselves. David had built the deck out back, board by board. I'd sewn the curtains that still hung in the living room. We'd raised our son Michael here, watched him take his first steps in that hallway, taught him to ride a bike in that driveway, sent him off to college from that front porch. This wasn't just a house. It was 42 years of memories, of love, of life. And my daughter-in-law called it an outdated dump. I could have called her immediately. Could have called Michael. Could have confronted them both, demanded explanations, dissolved into the tears that were building behind my eyes like a dam about to break. But I didn't. I had not survived 73 years, widowhood, and the loneliness that follows loss by being impulsive. I had learned patience. I had learned strategy. And I had learned that the truth, delivered at precisely the right moment, is more powerful than any amount of immediate rage. So instead, I took a screenshot of the message. Then I forwarded it to Michael without commentary. No angry words, no accusations, just the screenshot, sent like a stone dropping into still water. I waited. I went back to my roses, though my hands moved automatically now, without thought. I was calculating, planning, thinking through decades of interactions with Jessica, seeing them all through this new, harsh lens of truth. How many smiles had been false? How many kind words had been performance? How many times had she hugged me while secretly wishing I would simply cease to exist? The phone rang 40 minutes later. Michael. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready yet. He called again and again. Then came the text. Mom, I'm coming over. We need to talk. I'm leaving work now. I didn't respond. An hour later, I heard his car in the driveway, the slam of the door, his footsteps on the porch, quick, urgent, heavy with purpose. The doorbell rang, then frantic knocking. Mom! Mom! I know you're home! Please open the door! I let him wait. Not out of cruelty, but because I needed to compose myself to ensure that when I finally faced him, I would be calm, measured, strategic. The tears could come later. The grief could come later. Right now, I needed to be clear-headed. When I finally opened the door, Michael's face was pale, stricken. His tie was loosened, his hair disheveled as though he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly, something he'd done since childhood when he was anxious. "Mom," he breathed. "Mom, Jesus, I don't even know what to say." "Come in," I said quietly. He followed me into the living room, the same room where I'd taught him to read, where we'd had family game nights, where David had told him about the birds and the bees in what became a hilariously awkward conversation we'd laughed about for years after. I sat in my chair, David's old recliner that I'd kept because sometimes, when I sat in it, I could still feel him near me. Michael sat on the couch, leaning forward, his hands clasped between his knees. "I need you to understand something," I began, my voice steady. "I'm not angry yet. I will be, I'm sure. But right now I'm just numb. And I need you to be completely honest with me. Did you know?" "Did I know what?" His confusion seemed genuine. "Did you know that your wife is waiting for me to die so she can have this house? Did you know she thinks so little of me that she can barely tolerate my presence? Did you know that everything, the visits, the dinners, the smiles, has been a lie?" Michael's face crumbled. "No. God, no. Mom, I had no idea. I swear to you, I didn't know she felt this way." "But you've discussed my house," I said. It wasn't a question. "You've talked about what will happen when I'm gone." He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the truth. "We've discussed the future," he said carefully. "But not like that. Not with her waiting for you to die. Mom, you have to believe me." "What have you discussed exactly?" He rubbed his face. "After Dad died, when you were struggling, Jessica mentioned that maybe eventually, if it ever became too much for you to maintain this house alone, we could help. Maybe move in to take care of things. Help with expenses. She said it would be nice for Thomas to grow up in the house where I grew up." "And you believed that's what she meant?" He trailed off. "I wanted to believe it." "Ah." I leaned back in the chair. "So you saw signs. You suspected, but it was easier to pretend." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Michael?" He stood up, pacing. "Mom, I know Jessica can be... She has her moments. She's not perfect. But she's my wife, the mother of my son. I love her." "And do you love me?" He spun around. "Of course I love you. How can you even ask that?" "Because, son, I'm trying to understand how my only child could marry someone who holds me in such contempt and not notice, not see it, not protect me from it." The words hung in the air between us. Michael sank back down onto the couch. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "I need you to leave now," I said quietly. "What?" "I need you to leave. I need time to think, to process this, and I need to decide what I'm going to do." "What you're going to do? Mom, what does that mean?" I stood up, moved to the door, and opened it. "It means, Michael, that your wife has made it very clear how she views me and what she's waiting for. And I need to decide how I'm going to respond to that reality. But I can't think clearly with you here, so please, go home. Go home to your wife and perhaps ask her exactly who she was texting. Ask her how long she's felt this way. Ask her what other lies she's been telling." "Mom..." "Go, Michael." He left. I watched his car pull out of the driveway, watched him pause at the end of the street as though considering turning back, then watched him drive away. Only then did I close the door, lean against it, and finally allow myself to cry. I cried for the daughter-in-law I thought I had. I cried for the family I thought we'd built. I cried for my son, who would now have to face ugly truths about the woman he'd married. But mostly, I cried for myself. For the grandmother who had thought she mattered, who had believed the smiles were real, who had foolishly imagined that love was being returned when all along it was just patience, just waiting. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in David's chair and thought. By morning, I had made several decisions. The first call I made was to my attorney, Richard Brennan. Richard had been David's college roommate and had handled all our legal affairs for 40 years. He was 76 now, semi-retired, but he took my call immediately. "Margaret, how are you? I was just thinking about you. It's been too long since we had lunch. Richard, I need to see you. Today, if possible. It's urgent." His tone shifted instantly. "Of course. Come by at 10. I'll clear my schedule." The second call was to my financial advisor, Helen Pritchard. Helen was a sharp woman in her 50s who had helped me navigate my finances after David died, ensuring I understood exactly what I had and how to manage it. "Helen, I need a complete review of all my assets, everything, the house, the investments, the accounts, and I need to understand exactly what my options are regarding my estate planning." "Is everything all right, Margaret?" "No," I said, "but it will be." At Richard's office, I told him everything, showed him the message, explained the situation with a calm, measured voice that surprised even me. Richard's face grew darker with each word. "That little—" He stopped himself. "Margaret, I'm appalled, truly appalled." "I need to change my will," I said, "completely restructure everything, and I need to do it in a way that protects me, protects my assets, and ensures that Jessica never, ever gets what she's waiting for. I can certainly help with that. But Margaret, I have to ask, what about Michael? He's your son, your only child." "Michael," I said slowly, "enabled this. Maybe not consciously, maybe not maliciously, but he married a woman who views me as an obstacle, as something to be endured until I conveniently disappear. And he never protected me from her, never saw it, or if he saw it, he chose to ignore it." "What do you want to do?" "I want to set up a trust. I want this house protected. I want my assets distributed in a way that reflects my actual wishes, not the assumptions my daughter-in-law has been making. And I want provisions in place that make it very clear why I'm making these changes." Richard nodded slowly. "I can do that. But Margaret, this is going to cause an earthquake in your family. You understand that, don't you?" "Richard, the earthquake already happened. I just didn't feel it until now." We spent 3 hours going over options, strategies, legal protections. By the time I left Richard's office, I had a plan. It wasn't motivated by revenge, or at least, I told myself it wasn't. It was motivated by self-respect, by a refusal to be treated as an inconvenient obstacle, by a determination that my life's work, the home David and I built, would not fall into the hands of someone who held it in contempt. Over the next 2 weeks, I declined every call from Jessica. She tried repeatedly, calls, texts, even showing up at my door twice. I didn't answer. I had nothing to say to her yet. Michael I spoke to briefly. He was devastated, caught between his wife and his mother. Jessica had apparently claimed the message was taken out of context, that she'd been venting to a friend after a stressful day, that she didn't mean any of it. "She says she loves you, Mom," Michael said during one painful phone conversation. "She says she's so sorry that it came out wrong." "Tell me, Michael," I said. "What context makes 'soon the old lady will be gone' acceptable? What context makes calling my home, our home, mine and your father's, an outdated dump okay? What context makes 'stop pretending to care about her boring stories' loving?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I said gently. "Son, I love you, but I cannot unsee this. I cannot unhear it. And I will not pretend it didn't happen just to make things comfortable. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to protect myself." 3 weeks after the message, my new will was finalized. My estate plan was restructured, and I had made one additional decision that had surprised even Richard. I was going to tell them, all of it, but not yet. First, I had something else to do. I called my nephew, Daniel. Daniel was my younger brother's son, 42 years old, a teacher in Oregon. We'd always been close. After David died, Daniel had visited frequently, helped me with house projects, called regularly just to chat. He'd never asked for anything, never hinted at expectations, just offered genuine love and support. Aunt Margaret, it's so good to hear from you. I was just telling Sarah we should plan a visit soon. Daniel, I need to talk to you about something important. Are you free to talk? Of course, always. I told him everything. The message, the betrayal, my realizations, my plans. When I finished, there was a long silence. Aunt Margaret, he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Thank you, dear. But I'm not calling just to unburden myself. I'm calling because I've made some changes to my estate plan, and I want you to understand why. You don't owe me any explanations. Perhaps not. But I'm going to give them anyway. Daniel, you've been more of a son to me these past 5 years than Michael has been. Not because Michael doesn't love me, but because he chose someone who doesn't. And in doing so, he chose to close his eyes to how she treats me. I've decided that this house that Jessica is waiting to inherit, is going to you. What? Aunt Margaret, no, I can't. You can and you will. It's already done. The papers are signed. Upon my death, this house, along with a significant portion of my estate, will go to you. There are provisions for Thomas, my grandson, in a protected trust that Jessica cannot touch. Michael will receive some inheritance, but nothing like what he's expecting. And Jessica will receive exactly what she deserves. Nothing. Aunt Margaret, let me finish. I'm not doing this out of spite. I'm doing this because you have loved me without expectation. You have cared for me without calculation. And because when I think about my home, this home that David and I built, that holds every memory of our life together, I cannot bear the thought of Jessica gutting it, turning David's den into a walk-in closet, erasing us. But you, Daniel, you would honor it, honor us, wouldn't you? Always, he whispered. Always, Aunt Margaret. Then it's settled, but I'm not telling Michael yet. I'm going to wait, because I want to see something first. I want to see if Jessica's mask slips further. I want to see if Michael finally opens his eyes. And I want to see how they treat me now, when they think they're still waiting for their inheritance. That's actually brilliant. I'm old, Daniel. Not stupid. He laughed, a sound that warmed me. No one could ever accuse you of being stupid, Aunt Margaret. After I hung up, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. I had taken action. I had protected myself. I had ensured that my life's work would go to someone who valued it. Now came the interesting part, watching what would happen next. Jessica finally cornered me at the grocery store 4 weeks after the message. I was examining tomatoes when I heard her voice behind me. Margaret, oh my God, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I turned slowly. Jessica looked perfect, as always. Highlighted hair in a sleek bob, designer athleisure wear, expensive purse. She also looked nervous, her smile too bright, her eyes too wide. Hello, Jessica. I've been so worried about you. Why haven't you returned my calls? I placed a tomato in my basket. I've been busy. Busy? Margaret, we need to talk about that message. I know you must have questions. I don't have questions, I said calmly. The message was quite clear. She glanced around, lowered her voice. It wasn't what it sounded like. I was venting to a friend. I was having a terrible day. You know how it is. You say things you don't mean. Do I? I selected another tomato. Actually, Jessica, I've been thinking about that, and I realize that no, I don't know how it is. When I'm having a terrible day, I don't tell people I'm waiting for my loved ones to die. When I'm frustrated, I don't call the homes they've spent their lives building outdated dumps. So perhaps you could explain to me exactly how that works, because I genuinely don't understand. Her smile froze. You're upset. I understand, but you're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? I met her eyes. Tell me, Jessica, who were you texting? What? The message. Who was it intended for? She hesitated. A friend. From college. You don't know her. I see. And how often do you and this friend discuss me? How often do you share your true feelings about the old lady and her boring stories? Margaret, please. "Let me tell you what I think," I said, my voice still calm, still measured. "I think that message was a rare moment of truth. I think it revealed what you actually think, what you actually feel. And I think every smile, every hug, every 'I love you, Mom' over the past 8 years has been a performance, a means to an end, an investment in a future where you get my house." "That's not true!" "Isn't it?" People were staring now. Jessica's face flushed red. "I have been nothing but kind to you," she hissed. "I've included you in everything. I've brought Thomas to see you. I've hosted you for holidays. And this is how you repay me? By refusing to forgive one stupid text?" "Ah," I said softly. "There it is. There what is? The truth. You think you deserve gratitude. You think including me, bringing my own grandson to visit me, hosting me for holidays, you think these are favors you've done for me rather than the basic requirements of family. You think I should be grateful for scraps of affection while you wait for me to die. You're being cruel." "No, Jessica, I'm being honest. Perhaps for the first time in our relationship, I'm being completely honest. And you can't stand it because it ruins your narrative. It ruins your patient, dutiful daughter-in-law performance." I picked up my basket. "I'm going to finish my shopping now. Please don't contact me again unless you have something honest to say. And by honest, I mean truthful, not strategic, not calculated to get back into my good graces so you can secure your inheritance. Just honest." I walked away. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline coursing through me, but I kept my head high. Behind me, I heard Jessica's sharp intake of breath, but she didn't follow. That evening, Michael called. "Mom, Jessica is in tears. She says you humiliated her at the grocery store." "Did she tell you what I said?" "She said you accused her of terrible things. Said you claimed she's only been kind to you to get an inheritance." "And what do you think, Michael?" Long silence. "I think," he said slowly, "that message hurt you more than I understood, and I think you're angrier than you're admitting." "You're right. I am angry, but I'm also sad, Michael. So profoundly sad that my son married someone who views me this way, and I'm disappointed that you're still defending her." "I'm not defending her. I'm trying to hold my family together." "Your family," I said quietly, "was already broken. I just hadn't realized it yet." I hung up before he could respond. The weeks that followed were strange. Michael called regularly, trying to mediate, trying to find some path forward. I remained cordial, but distant. Jessica sent flowers, cards, a long email full of apologies that felt hollow, crafted, like something she'd found in an article titled, "How to Apologize to Your Mother-in-Law." I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I spent time with Daniel and his family. They visited for a week in October, and I showed them everything: where I wanted my garden maintained, which rooms held which memories, how to work the temperamental furnace. Daniel understood without my having to explain. This was me sharing my legacy with someone who would honor it. I also spent time with friends. My bridge club, my book group, my neighbors. I realized, with some surprise, that I had a full life outside my son's family. I had people who valued me, who listened to my stories without considering them boring, who cared about me without calculation. And slowly, the wound Jessica's message had opened began to scar over. It would never fully heal. Some betrayals are too deep for that. But I learned to live with it, to integrate it into my understanding of who I was and what I deserved. Then, 3 months after the message, something shifted. It was Thanksgiving. Traditionally, Michael's family came to my house. I cooked a large meal, we ate together, watched football, played with Thomas. It was tradition, sacred and unbroken for 8 years. This year, Michael called a week before. "Mom, about Thanksgiving, Jessica's parents invited us to their place. I know it's last minute, but I think maybe it's better this year if we don't do our usual thing." Something cold settled in my chest. "I see. It's not that we don't want to see you. It's just, things are still tense, and Jessica thinks maybe some space would be good. Jessica thinks." "Mom, thank you for letting me know, Michael. We could do something the next day. Just stop by. That won't be necessary. Enjoy your holiday." I hung up. I sat in my quiet house and felt something crack open inside me. Not grief this time. Something harder, something clearer. I called Richard. "I need to add something to my will, a clause, an explanation." "What kind of explanation?" "The truth. I want it on record, for anyone who questions my decisions, exactly why I made the choices I made. I want Jessica's message included. I want a statement about how I was excluded from Thanksgiving. I want my reasoning documented so thoroughly that no one can claim I was confused or bitter or unfair." "Margaret, are you sure?" "I have never been more sure of anything in my life." I spent Thanksgiving with Daniel's family via video call. Then I went to a neighbor's house, a widow named Patricia, who'd lost her husband the same year I lost David. We cooked a small meal together, shared stories, laughed. It was simple, warm, genuine. Everything my family holidays with Jessica had never actually been. December came. Michael called to discuss Christmas. "Mom, I really think we should spend it together. I know Thanksgiving didn't work out, but Christmas is important. Thomas keeps asking about you." "Does he? Or is that what Jessica wants you to tell me?" "That's not fair." "Michael, answer me honestly. If I weren't wealthy, if I didn't own this house, would Jessica want to spend Christmas with me?" The silence that followed told me everything. "I thought so," I said quietly. "Tell Thomas I love him, but I'm spending Christmas elsewhere this year." "Mom, you can't just cut us out." "I'm not cutting you out. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference." I spent Christmas with Daniel's family in Oregon. They flew me out, put me up in their spare room, included me in every tradition. It was the best Christmas I'd had in years. On New Year's Eve, I got a text from Jessica. "I know you hate me, but please don't punish Thomas. He deserves his grandmother." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Thomas has always been welcome in my life, but I will not be used as a prop in your performance of family, and I will not pretend that everything is fine when it isn't. If Thomas wants to see me, genuinely wants to see me, I'm here, but I will not be guilt-tripped into attending holidays where I'm not actually wanted." Her response came quickly. "You're being incredibly selfish." I laughed. Actually laughed. The irony was almost beautiful. "Jessica," I wrote back, "you texted someone that you couldn't wait for me to die so you could have my house. You called my home a dump. You admitted you were tired of pretending to care about me. And now you're calling me selfish because I won't pretend those words didn't matter, because I won't make myself available for you to use when it's convenient. I think we have very different definitions of selfishness." She didn't respond. January brought a cold snap, and with it, a crisis. My furnace died. It was old. David and I had installed it 30 years ago, and it finally gave up during a week when temperatures dropped below zero. I called a repair company. They sent someone out immediately. The technician, a young man named Marcus, examined the furnace and gave me the bad news. It needed to be replaced. The cost? $8,000. I called Michael, mostly out of habit, to let him know what was happening. His response shocked me. $8,000? Mom, that's a lot of money. Are you sure you need to replace it right away? Maybe you could just repair it for now. Marcus said it can't be repaired. It's a safety hazard. Well, $8,000 is steep. Jessica and I are pretty tight right now with Thomas's private school tuition. We were actually going to ask if you could help out with that, actually. I closed my eyes. Let me make sure I understand. You want me to delay replacing my furnace in January, in freezing temperatures, so I can pay for your son's private school tuition? I'm just saying the timing is bad, and you've got that whole house to yourself. Do you really need it heated to 70 degrees? Something inside me that had been bending finally snapped. "Michael," I said, very quietly, very calmly, "I need you to listen to me. I am 73 years old. I live alone. My furnace is broken in the middle of winter, and you just asked me to freeze so you can afford private school." "That's not what I meant." "Yes, it is. It's exactly what you meant. And in this moment, I want you to think about something. Think about what your father would say if he were here. Think about the man who worked 2 jobs so we could afford to send you to college. Think about the man who built half this house with his own hands, and think about what he would say to you right now." Silence. "I'm replacing my furnace," I continued, "and I'm not contributing to Thomas's tuition, not because I don't love Thomas, but because his parents clearly see me as a resource to be extracted rather than a person to be valued. And I'm done being a resource, Michael. I'm done." I hung up. The furnace was installed 2 days later. I paid for it out of my savings without a second thought. My house was warm again. I was warm again. But something had changed. Something fundamental had shifted in how I saw my son. The boy I'd raised, the man I'd loved unconditionally, had looked at his elderly mother in the middle of winter and thought first about his own financial convenience. That hurt worse than anything Jessica had done. Because Jessica, I'd realized, had never really loved me. But Michael had, once. And somehow, that love had been overwritten by his wife's influence, by financial stress, by the slow erosion that happens when you choose comfort over integrity. In February, Richard called. "Margaret, I need to tell you something. Michael came to see me." My stomach tightened. "Did he?" "He wanted to know about your will. Asked if you'd made any changes recently. I told him that was privileged information between attorney and client, but he was persistent." "What did he say?" "He said Jessica was worried that you were being irrational, that the text message incident had upset you more than it should have. He asked if there was any way to have you evaluated for competency." The room spun. "He what?" "He backed off when I told him that was absolutely inappropriate and that you were sharper than most people half your age. But Margaret, I thought you should know, they're worried about your will." "Which means they're worried about their inheritance." "Exactly." I sat down heavily. "Richard, I need you to do something for me. I need you to arrange a meeting. Here, at my house. Michael, Jessica, Daniel, and you as witness. I'm going to tell them, all of it. But I'm going to do it in a way that leaves no doubt about my competency, my reasoning, or my resolve." "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I should have done it months ago." The meeting was set for March 15th. The Ides of March, I thought with grim humor. Appropriate. Michael and Jessica arrived together, both looking wary. Daniel came from Oregon, flying in the night before. Richard arrived precisely on time, carrying his briefcase, his face professionally neutral. I'd set up the living room formally, chairs arranged in a semicircle, documents ready. A recording device visible on the table, Richard's suggestion, to document everything. "Thank you for coming," I said once everyone was seated. "I know this is unusual, but I have some things to say, and I need all of you to hear them." Michael leaned forward. "Mom, if this is about the furnace thing, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said—" "It's not about the furnace," I interrupted, "although that's part of it. This is about something larger, something that's been building for months, really for years, but I only saw it clearly last September." I looked at Jessica. She was pale, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Jessica, 4 months ago you sent a text message. It was meant for someone else, but I received it instead. I'm going to read it aloud now, for everyone's benefit, so there's no confusion about what was said." I picked up my phone, read the message word for word. "Soon the old lady will be gone and we'll finally have the house. Can't wait to renovate this outdated dump. That master bedroom will make a perfect walk-in closet for me. And we can finally stop pretending to care about her boring stories." The silence that followed was profound. Daniel's face had gone hard. Richard simply nodded, as if confirming something he'd already known. Michael looked at Jessica, who had tears streaming down her face. "That message," I continued, "revealed a truth I'd been blind to. It revealed that I'm not a mother to you, Jessica. I'm not family. I'm an obstacle, an inconvenience, someone to be tolerated until I conveniently die and free up real estate." "That's not—" Jessica started. "Please don't interrupt," I said firmly. "You'll have a chance to speak. Right now, I need to finish." I picked up a document from the table. "This is my new will. It was executed 4 months ago, shortly after I received your message. I'm going to tell you what's in it because you deserve to know. You deserve to understand the consequences of your words and actions." Michael's face was white. "Mom, you don't have to—" Yes, I do. Because, Michael, you came to my attorney and asked if I was competent. You suggested I should be evaluated because I was upset about a text message. You implied I was being irrational. So let me demonstrate just how rational I am. I looked down at the document. My estate is worth approximately $1.2 million. That includes this house, valued at $450,000, my investment accounts, my savings, and my life insurance. It's not a fortune, but it's the result of 50 years of David's and my hard work. I looked up at Daniel. Upon my death, this house will go to my nephew, Daniel Harrison, along with $300,000 from my estate. Daniel has shown me more love, care, and genuine affection in the past 5 years than I've received from my own son's family. He has never asked for anything, never hinted at expectations, simply loved me, and he will honor this house, honor the memories it holds, rather than gutting it for a walk-in closet. Jessica made a choking sound. Michael, you will receive $200,000, a substantial inheritance, but not what you were expecting. This is because, while you are my son, and I love you, you have failed to protect me from your wife's contempt. You have enabled her treatment of me through silence, through looking away, through choosing comfort over integrity. Michael's head dropped into his hands. Thomas, my grandson, will receive $300,000 in a protected trust that he can access at age 25. The trust is structured so that neither of his parents can touch it. This money is for his future, his education, his dreams. Not for private school tuition, when his parents would rather his grandmother freeze than adjust their budget. I looked directly at Jessica. You, Jessica, will receive nothing, not $1, not one piece of furniture, nothing, because you have earned nothing. You have given me false affection while waiting for real inheritance, and I will not reward that. Jessica was sobbing now, her face in her hands. The remaining $400,000 will be divided among various charities, friends, and distant relatives who have shown me kindness without expectation. I set down the document. This will is ironclad. Richard has ensured that. It includes the text message as evidence of my reasoning. It includes documentation of being excluded from Thanksgiving. It includes a record of Michael's request that I delay furnace repairs to fund private school. Everything is documented, witnessed, and legally sound. I looked at Michael. Son, I want you to understand something. I didn't do this out of cruelty. I did this out of self-respect, because I finally realized that I taught you to be kind, to be honest, to be loving, and somewhere along the way, you forgot those lessons, or you chose to ignore them. Either way, I will not reward that forgetting. Michael looked up, his eyes red. Mom, please, please don't do this. We can fix this. Jessica will apologize. She's already apologized, I said quietly. Multiple times, with flowers, cards, carefully worded emails, but they were strategic apologies, Michael, designed to get back into my good graces so she could secure her inheritance. Not genuine remorse, not real change. That's not true. Jessica looked up, her face blotchy with tears. I am sorry. I never meant... Those words came out wrong. What context, I asked softly, makes those words right? She opened her mouth, closed it. No answer came. I turned to Daniel. Daniel, I've shown you everything you need to know about this house. When the time comes, and I hope that's many years from now, you'll know how to care for it. I will, Aunt Margaret, he said quietly. I promise you, I will. Richard, do you have everything you need? I do. The will is filed. The recording of this meeting will be added to the documentation. Everything is in order. I stood up. Then we're finished here. Michael, Jessica, I'm not cutting you out of my life entirely. You're still my son, Michael. Thomas is still my grandson. But our relationship moving forward will be honest. No more pretending. No more performing. Either we have genuine connection, or we have nothing. The choice is yours. Michael stood, moved toward me. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. Didn't protect you. I let him hug me, but I didn't return the embrace with the warmth I once would have. I know you are, son, but sorry doesn't undo months of dismissal. Sorry doesn't erase your wife's contempt. Sorry doesn't replace the family I thought I had with the reality of what I actually have. He pulled back, tears on his face. What can I do? How can I fix this? I don't know if you can, I said honestly. But if you want to try, start by being honest. Stop defending Jessica's indefensible words. Stop asking me to pretend I'm not hurt. Stop treating my feelings as inconvenient obstacles to family harmony. Actually see me, Michael. See the woman who raised you, who loved you, who deserves better than being treated like a dying resource. Jessica stood abruptly. This is insane. You're punishing us for one text message. No, I interrupted. I'm protecting myself from someone who admitted she's waiting for me to die. There's a difference. She looked at Michael. Are you just going to stand there? She's stealing your inheritance. My inheritance? Michael's voice was sharp. Jesus, Jessica, listen to yourself. You're proving everything she just said. Jessica's mouth snapped shut. I think you should go now, I said quietly. Both of you. They left. Jessica stormed out first, Michael following more slowly. At the door, he turned back. I love you, Mom. I want you to know that. I know you do, son, but love isn't enough when it comes wrapped in contempt. After they left, I sat down heavily. Daniel moved to sit beside me, taking my hand. That was incredibly brave, Aunt Margaret. Brave or foolish, I'm not sure which. Brave, Richard said firmly, and necessary. I've been practicing law for 50 years, and I've seen too many good people allow themselves to be exploited by family. You stood up for yourself. That takes courage. We sat in silence for a while, the three of us, in the house David and I had built. Do you think they'll contest it? I finally asked Richard. They might try, but with the documentation we have, they won't succeed. And honestly, after that recording, after Jessica's reaction just now, I think even the most aggressive attorney would advise them not to bother. I nodded. Good. Daniel squeezed my hand. What are you going to do now? I looked around my living room, at the photos of David and me on the walls, at the furniture we'd chosen together, at the life we'd built, memory by memory, year by year. I'm going to live, I said simply. I'm going to spend time with people who value me. I'm going to travel. Maybe I'll visit you in Oregon more often. I'm going to read my books, tend my garden, play bridge with my friends. I'm going to stop waiting for my son's family to love me properly and instead surround myself with people who already do. That sounds perfect, Daniel said. And it was. Over the following months, I did exactly that. I visited Daniel's family 3 times. I took a cruise with my bridge club. I joined a book group at the library and made new friends. I volunteered at a local literacy program, helping adults learn to read, making a real difference instead of serving as a placeholder in someone else's inheritance plans. Michael called occasionally. Our conversations were stilted, careful. He told me that he and Jessica were in counseling, that they were working through things. I didn't ask for details. It wasn't my job to fix their marriage. Jessica didn't call at all. I considered that a blessing. Thomas I saw on his birthday. Michael brought him by, just the 2 of them. We had cake. We played in the backyard. It was sweet, simple, genuine. When they left, Thomas hugged me tight and said, I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. After they were gone, I cried a little. But they weren't bitter tears. They were complicated tears, sad for what wasn't, grateful for what was, peaceful in my choice to demand honesty. 1 year after the text message, I was in my garden again, deadheading the same roses when my phone chimed. Another message. For a moment, my heart seized, some old anxiety resurfacing. But it was just Daniel. Sarah and I have been talking. We'd like to name our second daughter Margaret after you. Would that be okay? I sat down on my garden bench, surrounded by David's roses, and cried. But this time, they were tears of pure joy. I typed back, I would be honored. That evening, I sat in David's chair and thought about the past year, the betrayal, the pain, the decisions I'd made. Some people might say I'd been too harsh, that families should forgive, that one text message shouldn't destroy relationships. But those people would be wrong. Because it wasn't one text message. It was years of false affection. It was smiles that never reached eyes. It was a daughter-in-law who saw me as an obstacle and a son who chose not to see that at all. It was being valued for my death rather than my life. And I had learned something profound in my 73 years. You teach people how to treat you. For too long, I had accepted crumbs and called it love. I had accepted performance and called it family. I had been so grateful for any attention from my son's family that I hadn't noticed it was contaminated with contempt. No more. I had drawn a line. I had demanded honesty. I had protected my legacy and ensured it would go to someone who would cherish it rather than gut it. Some might call that cruel. I called it self-respect. The house was quiet around me, full of memories, but no longer full of ghosts. David's presence lingered in the chair where I sat, in the roses he'd planted, in the life we'd built together. And I knew that he would approve of what I'd done. He'd always said I was stronger than I thought, that I should never let anyone diminish me, that my worth wasn't negotiable. It had taken me 73 years and a devastating text message to fully believe him. But I believed him now. My name is Margaret Harrison. I'm 73 years old. My daughter-in-law once texted that she couldn't wait for me to die. I said nothing at first, just quietly forwarded it to my son. An hour later, he appeared at my door, devastated and confused. And what I told him, what I told all of them, was this: I am not a resource. I am not an obstacle. I am not a placeholder in someone else's ambition. I am a woman who loved, who built a life, who deserves respect, and I will accept nothing less. They could choose to give me that respect genuinely, or they could live without me. The choice was always theirs. But the power, that power was mine, and I was never giving it away again. I looked out at my garden, at the roses blooming in the late evening light, and smiled. David's roses, our roses, soon to be Daniel's roses, passed down to someone who would tend them with love rather than calculate their square footage. It was enough. I was enough. And finally, after a year of grief and rage and painful clarity, I was at peace.